Welcome to The Sweet Life. I'm Kristi Andersen. You know, this program is all about having real conversations with community leaders, not just about how they've excelled in business, but just what they've learned along the way in their personal lives. And I am so excited to have Jerry Banks join me today. Jerry is a longtime real estate investor, mentor, philanthropist, business leader, and now he's also an author. So we're going to talk about his new book that's coming out shortly. Thank you so much for being here, Jerry.
Thank you, Kristi.
You're welcome. It's good to see you. And I've known you for a long time, and you've done a lot of things. I think most people know you, as I mentioned, the principal of the Jerry Banks Group, which is a long-time real estate investment firm. I mean, you have holdings in apartments, warehouse, retail. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, today I have approximately 30 properties in 5 states. Mostly here in Omaha, but it's spread over Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, so on. As you said, apartments in both the Dundee and Blackstone area, some warehouses, and a number of single-tenant net leased properties here in the Midwest.
And you started, I think this is a great little interesting story. You've been doing this for a long time. I mean, so long. You started when you were 18 years old and you got your real estate license at 18 in Iowa.
That's correct.
Were you the youngest person ever to get?
Yes.
Yeah.
They had just changed the law to allow people, instead of having to be 21 to get your license, to get it at 18. And I took the test actually a few months prior to the law changing and passed it, and then had to wait till July 1st of that year to actually receive the license. And they told me at the state capitol that I was the first person to get one at age 18. But I had been working in real estate alongside my parents' business at construction and development since I was very young.
So family business, kind of watched your parents do their thing, but then kind of took it at a different level. I've got an 18-year-old son, and I do real estate, but I don't know that he's ready. Right. So good for you for accomplishing that.
Very fortunate. I did a house flip when I was about 15.
Wow.
So
that's great.
Worked out.
That's awesome. You know, and over the years, you've managed about $2 billion worth of real estate transactions, which is a huge and very impressive number by all accounts, right?
Thank you.
But, you know, as we have talked over the years, you've talked about how really your biggest accomplishment isn't in business, but it's being a single dad that raised 2 girls, and now you've got grandkids. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. My ex-wife and I went through a divorce when my daughters were 14 and 10, and suddenly realized that they were going to be living with me full-time. And I was very fortunate. It was probably one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. It was like a ball bat upside the head that I had to get better at being a better dad, a better person, a better business person. My daughters and I are very close to this day, and it was a great change, great things that came out of it. Didn't feel like it at the time.
Right.
Felt like I was going through hell, but ended up being one of the greatest things ever.
It is hard. I mean, all of the ups and downs that people in their life experience, and it's not just in business, as you mentioned. I mean, sometimes it's the real personal stuff that gives you a run for your money, but through that comes strength.
Absolutely.
And lessons learned. And I'm sure now, and I know one of your daughters, and she's following in your footsteps in the family business, and so you've taught them some pretty cool things along the way.
They're both very accomplished girls.
Yeah. So when we talk about that incredible journey that you've had, you know, you've had many twists and turns,
right,
as you've mentioned. It's not always easy. When you know, when people look at people who are at the top of their game and they think, oh, I want to be just like them, and they don't always think about the hard stuff that that you have to go through, and, you know, pulling up your bootstraps. Give me some examples of some of the things that you've been through.
Sure. Well, 2 business failures really are very difficult times in business. I've had a couple of times where my accountants recommended I file bankruptcy, and I refused and just strapped it on and made it through. You know, failure. I started a small pizza chain and grew it into 13 stores, and then it went through failure, and had to overcome that. And so through those tough times, you learn so much about yourself and about those who believe in you. And have to maintain your ethics and maintain your honesty and your core values as to who you are. And over time, you grow from that, and you learn that what you overcome in your life means far more to you than anything you achieve. And I want to use now this venue and writing the book to help other people get through their tough times. I realize that everybody lives on a roller coaster. You have highs and you have lows. And I want to use the experience of my lows and how I got through them to encourage others that there is a life after the failure. There is life after the fall. There is life after the divorce. It doesn't feel like it at the time. It feels like you have a target on your back and that everybody's throwing axes and arrows at you. But life is good, and you just have to, persevere and be resilient and utilize a few tools to get you through it.
So we're talking about this book, and I'm going to have you lift it up here, Jerry. So this book is your first book published, and it's coming out on Amazon in October.
Yes.
At a time in your life where you're doing very well professionally, you've got grandkids.
Yep.
You're supposed to be going into your golden years. You decided to write a book and now launch something new in your life. And so why now? Why did you decide to do it?
I've always been one to want to hit the refresh button when opportunities arose and to do that. My family, the word retire doesn't exist in my family. My dad passed away at 101 years old. He worked in real estate right up to the last couple of years. So retirement is just not going to happen, which is fine. But I decided to hit the refresh button, and I do a lot of mentoring and working with young people. And I find so many times that because of everything they see on the social medias, about how wonderful everybody's lives are, they maybe get to thinking that theirs is horrible. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. And I think the more, for me, to be able to talk about it and get it out there and say, I've been there, I've done that, I've been through hell. But there is a great life in front of you if you use the right tools and you believe in yourself and you never, ever give up and you learn how to be resilient through the down times.
And maybe that's why it's got an interesting title to your book, which you guys can all see here. And, you spent some time, you told me, trying to really figure out, what do I call this?
Yes.
And you went back and forth on this particular title because it's eye-catching and it's in your face, but why did you decide this? And there is a funny little story that gives you the title, right?
There's two stories, actually. And when I was battling with what to name it, I started out with this as a working title because I've always had the saying, if you will, in my life is when you don't know what to say, start with the truth. Right. And when I was 18 years old, a grizzly old real estate guy in Glenwood, Iowa, told me that the key to success in real estate was based on how much shit you could eat on a daily basis and keep on smiling. Right. Well, I figured out over time it wasn't just real estate, it's life that's like that, okay? So I started out with it as a working title. Then as I played with various titles, I printed them all out, and I had them on 8.5 by 11 paper, and I'd look at them often. And one day I was on a flight from Dallas to Phoenix, and there was an empty seat between myself and a little old lady. Very nice lady. And I kept laying them on the seat and going through them. And when the plane landed, I got up to get my bags out. And I asked her if I could help her with any bags she had in the overhead. And she said, no, but can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, sure. And she said, have you had a rough life? And I then realized suddenly that, oh, my God, she'd seen all these titles and papers. And I was worried I had offended her. And I said, ma'am, I've been very blessed in my life. I've had some ups and downs. May I ask you why you ask? And she said, well, I think God put me here beside you today to see those papers. And I said, really? And she said, yep, there was a message in one of them for me. And I asked her, well, can I ask you what that message was? And she said, yes, it was eat shit and smile. And I was flabbergasted. I said, why? And she said, I'm on my way home from Dallas after burying my son. God intended me to see that message today. And I realized he had also spoken to me and that it was supposed to be my title.
You know, and that's what this is all about for you, isn't it, Jerry? This isn't about one more thing to get notoriety about. This isn't, we've had this conversation. This isn't about, you just want to provide this book as a resource to others and maybe give them some inspiration and some guidance. And there's some real clear paths people can take, or advice that they can get from the book. And I've had the pleasure of reading it. It's really good.
Thank you.
But that's your goal, right?
Well,
your goal is not to make a bunch of money writing a book.
Oh, God, no. Yeah. This is a money loser. It started out as a goal to leave a message for great-grandchildren I may never meet in future generations. What would I want them to know? What would I want them to think about? Mm-hmm. So I started out by telling a little bit of my story and responding, and then I met a publisher, worked with them on it. They pushed me, asked me to make some revisions, and this is the end product we've come up with. And so it serves first and foremost as a message to my great-grandkids in future generations. But I think it also can apply to everybody and anybody at any point in their life. We all have crap that happens to us. It's how you respond that makes a difference.
And I think especially now, the world is hard, and for our kids, I'm a mom, you're a father, you're a grandfather, and I think about our young kids as they're going up in the world that we're in right now, and they need some motivation.
Yes. I was very blessed also to get Coach McDermott to write the foreword for the book, and I'm very proud of that. And it's got a lot of high points in it, too. I've been very blessed in my life. Mm-hmm. My career with the Lozier family for 23 and a half years was extremely beneficial to me, and learned a ton, not just about business, but about life and philanthropy and so on. And I want it to be something that is inspiring, not just about the downsides, but about the goodness of life also.
Right. My dad always had a saying, you only fail when you quit trying, and it's kind of been a motto that I've looked at my whole life.
Yes.
And it's similar. It's like, you've been through some really, really rough spots in your life, just as everyone has, dark moments.
Right.
But it's about how you respond to those, as you said.
Exactly. And I loved the quote, and I lead with it in the book, too, that Nelson Mandela said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn."
Right.
And so when you take those down moments and those losses and you look at them more as learning opportunities, not losses, not failure, but what do I learn from this? Mm-hmm. That's when growth occurs.
Right. And you mentioned earlier, mentoring is a big part of what you do, and it's in your heart today. Right. I imagine you had mentors along the way, too, which is how you've overcome some of those challenges.
Absolutely.
Who comes to mind when you think about that?
Well, the first two obvious ones are Alan Lozier and Sherry Andrews at Lozier. What I learned there is beyond explanation from both of them and other people throughout the industry. But when I owned when I started Century 21 Banks Realty in Council Bluffs in 1979, there was a real estate agent there by the name of Bud Mahan, who worked for years as a residential salesman at NP Dodge. I learned so much about life and business and ethics and doing that it's a matter of what's right, not who's right, type of things. Obviously, my mom and my dad taught me a ton, especially my dad. I always loved the saying, when he was 100 years old at his birthday, we asked him what he believed to be the key to a long life. And he said, live with love in your heart. Mm. And that exemplified him.
Right.
So
when people are thinking about picking up your book, and hopefully they will, and they need to buy it, again, it comes out in October on Amazon, and then I'm sure it'll be in other places after that. But if there were one thing that you could tell people about why they should read this book, what would it be?
Well, I would hope it would pick up some keys to help you get through the down times and to enjoy life, and to understand that success and happiness has more to do with resilience and persistence than it does greatness. You don't have to be great. And that success and happiness isn't a destination. It's a process, and enjoying the process along the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, Jerry.
Thank you, Kristi. Appreciate it.
You bet. And again, Jerry Banks' new first book is coming out on Amazon in October. Please pick up a copy. You won't regret it, and certainly that title is going to jump right off the shelf for you. So I'm sure lots of people might not know anything about the book, but they're going to look at that title and say, I have to buy this. So
Great. Thank you, Kristi.
yes, thank you so much. And thank you for joining us on The Sweet Life.